Good morning. We're the only thing standing between you and lunch, so we will try to be as efficient as possible. I don't think we'll be quite as entertaining as we were. Can everybody hear me now? I'm going to let them get situated. If I could get Representative King on this end, we'll just kind of go in that order. Steve Floyd has us lined out here the way he wants it, so we want Representative King, and then Judge Isom next to him, Mr. Taylor, and then Judge Floyd. I wanted everybody to see this picture of Mike Buck because he's supposed to be up here doing this. And when you fill out these little forms and you have any derogatory comments you wish to make about my moderation, please mention the name Mike Buck. This is my boss, and he had a family emergency he needed to take care of this morning. So we're going to excuse him today for that. Family comes first. What I'd like to do is read you a short bio about each one of these panel members here today, and then I have a very brief slideshow about workforce. I think we're all here kind of talking about our pains today, and I wish that we could make all of them go away, but we really have some great challenges, and I think we're blessed to be in the midst of this boom or this surge. So let me get on with business here. Representative Ken King, I was just looking at your district this morning, and it's just a stair step going up. Representative King was born and raised in Canadian, Texas. He's currently serving his first term as state representative for House District 88. His district includes 17 counties. In the Panhandle and the South Plains area, it looks like you're kind of north of Lubbock, and then you come over to the west a little bit, so it goes like that. He currently serves on the House Public Education Committee, the House Judiciary and Civil Jurisprudence Committee, and is the only representative from Texas appointed to Legislative Energy Horizon Institute. Representative King is also a member of various caucuses in the House of Representatives, including the Rural Caucus, the Republican Caucus, the Energy Caucus, and the Sportsman's Caucus. I don't know what that is. You'll have to explain that to us later. Prior to his election, Representative King served on the school board for Canadian Independent School District and Hemphill County Appraisal District's Executive Board. Representative King has been active in organizations related to his energy service businesses, including American Petroleum Institute, Panhandle Producers and Royalty Owners Association, Association of Energy Services Companies, and the Independent Producers Association of America. Finally, Representative King is president of Black Gold Pump and Supply Incorporated, vice president of King Well Service, co-owner of Box K Cattle, and vice president of K&S Leasing, all located in Canadian. That's quite a string of duties you have there. Many hats. Yeah. Next, we have Judge Larry Isom. Judge Isom is the county judge over in Big Lake in Reagan County, and we're happy to have him here. He's a native of Ennis, Texas, and I don't know how he got to West Texas, but he's lived in Big Lake for 32 years. He's served Reagan County as judge for the last 12 years as the oil and gas industry moved in his area and has witnessed the tax base skyrocketing over the last 3 years. He has a farming and ranching background and currently has many wells operating on his land. His original quote, "I always tell the truth and I'm not afraid to change." So that's what keeps him young. You have to be able to change. Merle Taylor is the city manager of the city of Snyder, has been there for the past 6 years, and actively engaged with various local and regional organizations, including Region F Water Planning. I'm not sure what this acronym is here, but it's WCTCOG, Solid Waste Committee Chairman. You can tell us what that means in a little bit. Snyder Chamber of Commerce, Snyder ISD After School Centers on the Education Board, Western Texas College Community Matters Board, Texas Midwest Community Network, Executive Committee, and the West Texas Energy Consortium, co-chair for Infrastructure and Natural Resource Committee. He began his career with city management as a purchasing agent for the city of Brady, and eventually a Brady city manager for 8 years. So those are our bios, and I'm going to step through my slides with some help from, Judge Floyd. How could I forget him? I have you at the top of the list. You know, I don't think he'll be too insulted. I've known him since he was pretty little, and I always like to say that I could tell stories about him. And I won't, but if I need to, at some point I will. Judge Steve Floyd began his career as a local graduate of Lakeview High School in 1973. followed by college at Angelo State University and the National Judicial College in Reno, Nevada, before moving to Tom Green County positions. While working in the Texas Justice Court Training Center faculty, he also served as Justice of the Peace and then as Tom Green County Commissioner. Judge Steve Floyd was appointed to his current position as Tom Green County Judge last fall. Where's my driver? I am the Director of Planning for the Concho Valley Workforce Development Board, and I could probably do this without slides. We probably want to hurry to lunch, and I'll be happy to do that, but I wanted to give a little workforce update. We've seen all of these maps with the Wolfberry and the Klein and the Wolf Camp and all of the pictures of the shale oil that's going on around us. What happens when we have all of this activity and all of these companies moving into our area? And I don't mean to be derogatory. I don't work for the state, but I do use your tax dollars. I work for everybody in this room. So you can look at me as a state employee if you like, because they're spending your money on me. So I need to put that out there, because you need to call on me if you have workforce needs. I can't tell you that I can answer all of your needs, but I can certainly do the best I can. But what happens with our funding when everything gets really busy and we have lots of employers in the area? Our funding gets cut. So we have fewer people in the labor force to put into those jobs, and we have more employers demanding our services. And we really would love to have an abundance of money so we could go into work with an employer and say, we'll train your workforce. Because I have employers telling me, you know, if they can fog up a mirror, I'll hire them. Well, they do hire people like that, but they don't have a clue what they're doing. And to train somebody that really has no skills, it's very difficult to do. So that's a great need for Texas employers. The West Texas Energy Consortium has done some great work, and we've gotten lots of great data out of them. Some of the reports that have come out have predicted that our workforce in San Angelo is going to grow by 466 jobs in the next 10 years. I can tell you we've seen that already. We've seen that this year. We have a company sitting out on the edge of town that says, I need 50 people, and I talked to all of these people here today who have facilities in San Angelo. They're telling me how many they're going to hire, and I know that they've hired up just about all of our available workforce. In fact, Jeff out here with GuyCon said our workforce is shallow, and that's a very nice way to put it. And keep in mind that we only get about 20, maybe 25% of the jobs that are available in our area, and I'm talking about the whole Concho Valley. We've seen a couple of postings go down for some employers. For instance, in healthcare, we know the need is great, but we've seen those job postings go down just a little bit. But the top 10 employers, their job postings have skyrocketed. I'm going to have to use my glasses because I was hoping this would be up there on the screen, but I'm just going to tell you what the top 10 occupations are in the Concho Valley. The number one, I'll go from 1 to 10. Number 1 is transportation, sales, healthcare, office and admin support, installation, maintenance and repair, construction, management, food preparation and food service, production, and then healthcare support. Transportation, well, that's just vital to everything we do, but we have been using our workforce dollars to train truck drivers. That's been the number 1 demand, and everybody wants truck drivers. But the administrative support services have gone up exponentially. In December of 2012, I talked to Halliburton, and they were talking about the Eagle Ford Shale, and that's all we heard back in 2012 was about the Eagle Ford. And this Halliburton executive told me that we needed to sit back and watch, because he said your job demand is going to be in office and admin, and it certainly is. Leslie's sitting over here, she can vouch for that, Leslie. I don't know how many job postings we have right now for office and administrative help, but those are your clerks and your timekeepers and your dispatchers and all of those back office people that you need to run a successful business. I was going to go, I wanted to, in May, let me see if I got the May, this is the June unemployment information. San Angelo was number 4 in unemployment. Our rate stays right around 4%. It may fluctuate a little bit, but that employment rate doesn't mean those are people that are drawing unemployment insurance. It means the people that are out there in the workforce that are unemployed. So with that in mind, I'm gonna pass pass the mic to Representative Ken King, because I want to hear what's going on in your area, and I know everybody out here wants to hear. How has workforce been affected? And you seem to have lots of experience with all your companies.
Well, I have a lot of experience in the oilfield service sector anyway, and our company's been established since 1959. Started with my grandfather, King Well Service did anyway. The rest of them have come later, but we operate 15 workover rigs in the Anadarko Basin primarily, and we service an area from Liberal, Kansas to Oklahoma City and all the Texas Panhandle down to around Amarillo. So it's a pretty big area. We run anywhere between 85 and 100 employees, and yeah, our unemployment hovers right there in the 2 to 4% all the time. Just about anybody that wants a job has a job. If you walk in my company today and can speak English and pass a drug test, you're hired. And that's essentially the way everybody does it. You don't have any choice. You know, back in the boom that was before my time that my dad experienced, people moved from the north and from the east into Texas to fill these jobs. Well, then when it crashed, they all went home and they didn't come back. So we're struggling for people. A CDL driver's license is just unheard of. Just having an employee with a driver's license is unheard of. So I mean, we've got some real challenges facing this, and we have some folks from Devon in the room, and I understand the oil companies. They've elevated the oil business to a higher standard than it was 30 years ago. It's become more of a 5-day-a-week type occupation, and they've done some great things with safety and brought some prestige to it. At some point, we all need to realize that our workforce does not have PhDs, you know, and they're not computer literate. And if you're going to get a guy on a drilling rig to run a computer, your drilling cost is about to go through the roof. If you think it's bad now, let's get there where they're in a suit and tie. So the workforce is a constant challenge. Hiring people is a constant challenge. I put up with stuff that 10 years ago I would have never put up with employees, and just trying to keep good ones. And then when you get a good one, you know, I'm in the supply business, and here's something that's interesting. I hire someone who doesn't know what a tank battery hookup is. Has no industry experience at all. I bring him in. 6 months later, an old company makes him a pumper because they have all this 6 months experience, and that's how bad it is. And it's not just the service companies, the old companies on down that are fighting the same thing. You know, when you're out drilling a well, you know, it used to be that we were experts in our field, and the oil company would have a company man or a consultant on location that asked us what we're supposed to do or what the next procedure is. Today, I have a good friend that actually came out of a feedlot and is consulting for a fairly major oil company now, and his number one job is you make no decisions till you call the office. So they got a feedlot cowboy running $1 million operation, and he can't make a decision other than to dial the phone number. So workforce is by far the most critical thing I see as the industry have. The other thing is going to transportation or roads. You know, Representative Darby, one of the first things he ever told me is roads are important because we don't have a seaport. And he is 100% right. I have 17 counties that go from the northeastern panhandle across the west side of Lubbock all the way to Yoakum County. So I touch Oklahoma on one end and New Mexico on the other. About half of those counties are oil and gas producing and have some wealth. About half of them are ag. You know, I hate to be just overly blunt, but the ag community roads, they suck too. We have not had anything done to our infrastructure in 60 years other than some rock chips and some seal coat. And without our farm to market road system, we can't get our oil and gas, nor can we get our ag products to market. So to me, I think we did a lot last session for water. We did a lot for public education. What we did not do was face our road needs, and that to me is that's the number one priority going into the next session.
Thank you so much. Judge Dyson? What's going on in Reagan County?
Yeah, thank you, Kate. First, I'd like to start off thanking Representative Darby and his staff for all the help they've given me in Big Lake and Reagan County. Let's just give some of the things that we've gone through. In 2003, when I started being the judge, we had 4 deputies. Now we have 14. The tickets that we gave out were at about $4,000 a month. The month of July, we did $97,000 in just JP tickets. Our average monthly ticket base now is about $80,000 a month. We're giving out, and most of them, like Representative King said, are tearing up our roads, our overweight trucks, or just, you know, it's unbelievable what's coming through. We had one truck that came through. It was 96,000 pounds over his limit on his permit. The fine was $10,000. The next fine is going to be twice that because it's just enhanceable. Our tax base has grown from about $1 billion to 3.2 to 3.5 billion. And that sounds like a lot of money. It is a lot of money, but we have to operate within a budget. And I guess the hardest thing to do is when my constituents walk there and say, I want a new baseball field. We can't give you a new baseball field if we don't have the money in the budget to spend on it. We've got to build that supply, and in the meantime, we're putting roads together and trying to keep everything running. Then also I think Mr. Garvey helped us get the county to get quite a bit of money for funding county roads this thing. We'll get like Reagan County got $3.5 million for that. It's matching money, so we'll go a long way paving roads over the next couple of years. Pioneer, Apache, Enduring Approach, Devon, El Paso are just a few of the large oil companies that have large drilling programs in Reagan County. One of our disadvantages is we're landlocked. University of Texas has us on 3 sides of major ranches, not selling anything on the north side. We can move back to the east, it's the only way we can go. And I guess by now that land is to buy a 1 acre lot over $100,000. We have 17 RV parks in Big Lake. Every one of them are full. We have 2 man camps and they're full. At one time we had 2 motels. We have 5 right now with 2 more being built. 12 miles north of Big Lake we have a construction site. We're fixing to put in a truck stop, a convenience store, office spaces, and a 60-room motel. Our Dollar General has to shut down about once a month just to restock the shelves. We can't keep anybody employed there. And by the way, the Dollar General that we do have is the most money-making store of all the Dollar Generals that are owned by Dollar General. Our grocery store has the same problem. We can't keep fresh food, and if you're not there when the truck unloads, you're not going to get any fresh food. And it's just, you know, it's the thing we went from restaurants, we went from 3 or 4, and now we've got 10 to 12 of them. TxDOT Aviation and TxDOT Highway have been remarkable partners with us. TxDOT Aviation is building us the east-west runway now that we've used with dirt forever, and in the process of doing that as we speak. I'd like to really thank Tracy Kane and John DeWitt with TxDOT back there somewhere for helping us with, they're putting in 3 merging lanes between County Line and Big Lake, which is, y'all don't know how much that helped us out there the way it is now. They were scheduled to go on in line in 2016. They've worked with us now. They left the bids last week or this week, I understand. It's been pretty much graded. It's got to go through the commission in Austin. Once that's approved, we'll have 3 new merging lanes being built in Reagan County, which y'all, if you haven't been to Big Lake, you don't know how much that's going to help us. And then in 2019, we had the economic development come out and do a study for Big Lake, and by 2019, they expect us to have a 17,000 permanent population of people there. And where we're going to put them, I don't know, we're going to start building high rises, I guess, so we don't have places to put them out there anymore. We're building new subdivisions, and the city's putting in all the utilities for everyone so that they will voluntarily annex and we can receive the tax base from it. As it is, I mean, most places the developer puts in the tax in the utilities and gives them back to the city. You cannot annex with so much land a year, and we've already done that, so we're able to get that tax money in. We're putting in infrastructure for them. And then back in 2005, we talked to Texas Association of Counties, and we have a new county system put in for our development. And we have a county that goes and runs alongside with TCEQ, so that we have, our county has a better development system than what our city has in place right now, which both of them are excellent, I think. And in the panel before, they talked about health care services. We don't have a volunteer service anywhere for ambulance and we've had to go to all paid employees for everything. And right now, we're in the process of the city and the hospital and the county getting together to help pay for more people to run our services. It's just, you know, I mean, it's just things like, you know, until you drive out to Big Lake, you won't know what we've got going on. And we have one truck stop now, Big Pilot store. It's on the east side of town. And when it opened up, the very first day, it made more money that first day than any other Pilot store on opening day. And the second day, it made more money than the first day. On the west end of town, we have another one that's going in place. And it should be ready within about 45 days. So we've got just tremendous going on. So, and our, like Representative King said, our unemployment is probably a negative unemployment. If you where you go, there's signs, you know, help wanted. The people that working at the truck stop are making right at $20 an hour now. It's just, I mean, if you want a job, come to Big Lake, but you need to bring a tent right now. And if you have any more questions, I'll be glad to answer them after we get through with the panel.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you,
Mr. Taylor?
Yes, the acronym that you asked about a while ago is West Central Texas Council of Governments.
Okay, thank you.
John would know what that is, but the energy in Snyder has impacted many things. Our sales tax has increased by 13.1%. Our unemployment our employment has declined to about 3%, and overall, the United States is roughly 6%. Our jobs, employment has increased by 8%, and that's roughly 1,400 jobs in Scurry County have been created in the last 18 months. Our property tax rolls have increased by 11.46. Snyder's added 260 acres to our city limits in the last year. We continue to receive investments from branded retail merchants and hotels. Our governmental entities, the college, the hospital, school districts, city and county have invested roughly $90 million in improvements. And our development corporation has loaned $400,000 to local merchants for improvements and inspection, and improvements and expansion. We have raw land available for development with and without infrastructure. And certainly all these things are a blessing, but we primarily base it on the petroleum industry, but our wind industry is certainly a big portion of the West Texas area. Our challenges with economic development is permanent housing. We have probably close to 120 lots that are being developed. They're in various stages. All of the employers struggle with workforce and training. And our 911 calls, which we've talked a lot about it this morning, but 911 calls, first 6 months, they received 7,600 calls for service. And our fire department is separated from this, but anyway, their calls in the fire department have increased by 40% over the last 2 years. And we don't have many Pine Shell wells, so we're not sure what's going to happen in the next few years. But we're prepared for it. Our water plant is capable of producing 10 million a day. It's producing 3 million a day right now. Our wastewater plant is permitted for 5 million a day, and we're producing about 1 million a day. So we're poised for growth. Our landfill currently, at current tonnage intake, it's predicted to last 150 years. So we feel like we're poised for growth. Certainly employment, employees is our biggest challenge this time.
Thank you. Judge Floyd?
Oh, thank you. Well, I kind of asked Kathy to allow me to kind of back clean up on this because of the fact that I felt I knew Judge Ison, Mr. Taylor's community probably have been impacted more heavily than Tom Green County and the Concho Valley has. Mainly in the respect that we have more mass probably to absorb some of the growth than they have. But it very definitely has impacted Tom Green County. What I love is the spirit has been demonstrated by them. We're Texans, specifically West Texans. You know, we quit whittling and we cinch up and we go to work and we try to take care of it. Counties are tasked by the state to provide certain services. We're to provide those services regardless of business orientation. So I think each community is impacted significantly differently, basically on the culture and the nature of their community. This area has long been proud of being involved in providing food and fiber for society. And that's probably a great deal of our culture. Now, we have a strong military history. We have a strong educational component, medical component. We also have a pretty significant retirement population in this area. A lot of those people have chosen to live here and avoid the Metroplex or the Petroplex because of the quality of life. But I believe our community is embracing the fact that now we'll add fuel to that component of what we're helping to provide. I think we will be proud of that. I think with that said, the best analogy that I could think of is it's as a fast-moving, overheated warm front colliding with a more methodical, stationary cold front when you run up against local government and the length of time it takes to react. And most of the time, that local government will kind of reflect the nature of your community to a certain degree. Obviously, the energy sector brings much more power and energy and enthusiasm and pace than what food or fiber brings, and probably the pace of San Angelo. Whenever that occurs, you're going to get a squall line that's going to cause some problems. It's inevitable that that's going to happen. I think your success is based on the fact that regionally and through cooperation, you can manage what comes from that squall line. There may be some bumps in the road, some adjustments, but there can also be some beneficial rains that come out of there that can heal your land. I think this community has certainly embraced the opportunity that's coming to broaden our tax base. And the attitude I have tried to take, and I think I found has been prevalent, is that the quality of life is a huge issue. You know, 50% of our population that's existed has chose to live here are not going to participate in this energy boom. They are going to be impacted by it. A lot of our local businesses have built your community are being impacted by it. Counties in the workforce situation, we're competing in the same marketplace that our taxpayer business sector is competing in for staffing. So all of those are issues that we have to juggle along to a certain degree. And so with the main goal at the end, yes, we may broaden and expand our tax base, but you know, if you roll 8 or 10 cents out of the county property tax rate, you've created a community no one wants to live in. Have you really accomplished anything? So that seems to be the attitude that I think most of the partners have taken. And I say that with partners because I believe it's a regional impact. The solutions are regional, and the only way they're going to happen is a corporate solution. And it starts with the state. And I certainly follow up on what Judge Ison has said. 10 years ago when I first came in, it seems like the state's attitude towards counties were one of a child that they seemed to be embarrassed of and kind of didn't want to exclude it from the family reunion to a degree. Representative Darby and the rest of the legislature is to get a complete turnaround. They understand our mission and we're their boots on the ground to provide that, and they have become great partners. And that has infiltrated into the state agencies, TxDOT, Mr. Kane back there. all of the state agencies, DPS, and we've become much more of a cooperating agency. With the city, the education sector, even the military, the agencies, the chamber, the area agencies, the COG, there are numerous collaborations going on to try to bring solutions to this problem. And I say a problem, it's really an opportunity, and we're looking at it as an opportunity. You know, God bless that we live in West Texas, because like I say, I'm quite proud to say we've been providing food and fiber, and now we get our opportunity to provide fuel, whether it's wind, you know, fossil, or even solar to a certain degree is coming. I think it's part of what made America great, if we can maintain it. They have gone over the challenges, that same challenges are here in Tom Green County. The speed of which the energy comes, a lot of times we have found they avoid the municipal structure because of the complexity and the timeline it takes to get things approved. It shoves them out in the county, and we're woefully unprepared to regulate that kind of growth and to try to protect some of those qualities of life. Fortunately, we were able to look at the best practices of some of the counties ahead of us. See the Glasscock judge back there has certainly been involved in this, and look at the best practices. And we made some adjustments trying to deal with the housing situation, some of the commercial development. The bottom line is we're here to provide the county government for them and give them the opportunity to have the right to be here. We have found that in that partnership, and you heard that demonstrated by Devon standing up there, responding to a community problem. They have the same interests, they understand the impact they're bringing. They have the same goals that we do, because they have to attract and retain employees. Quality of life is a big issue for them. And they are great partners, and they're certainly part of the solution. So, again, I kind of wanted to give an overview, because certainly all I can do is follow up with not quite the level of impact that the two communities have spoken before.
Can I add something?
Yes, sir, please do.
We, right now in Reagan County, we are in the process of building a new hospital. We passed the bond, we did the shovel thing, throw the dirt. We're getting all the plans drawn up, we will have a new hospital in the next couple of years. Also, talking about our tax base, Reagan County right now, our tax rate is about 30 cents a hundred, which is probably one of the lowest in the state. And like I say, again, it just makes it hard to tell people, no, you can't do anything when they think you have a pocket full of money. And I can't say that enough to make it, wish all my people here so they can understand it, but they're not. So, thank you, Ken.
You know, as far as regions go, and your experience in new growing things, probably the difference in my region is Anadarko Basin's been established since the 30s and the 40s, and really cranked up in the 50s. So we're experiencing the same things you guys are, but that area's boomed and busted for a long time. So I think the people kind of just accepted that that's just kind of the way it is, and where it's maybe new in some of your communities.
It's not new in Reagan County, but to this extent,
To
it's
this
very
extent,
new,
yeah.
And the booms in the past, you know, a couple of years up and down, and people move in, but then they leave and don't come back necessarily.
But you know, what our challenge as a state and as counties, and whether you're in the private sector or part of the government, is infrastructure. You know, it's amazing to me as many problems as all businesses face in staffing your business and having qualified people and training and all that tends to work out. But we're adding 100,000 Texans a year. State demographer says by 2050 we're going to double our Texas population, and our infrastructure is still based on basically a 1993 standard. That's the part that is scary as a state going forward, is how are we going to sustain this kind of growth, not just in our individual counties, but overall, how are we going to continue to be the best state in the country to do business in? And our infrastructure is going to have to step up and be adjusted to support that kind of population and the kind of business growth we're seeing.
Earlier, excuse me, fellas. I heard Representative King said something about even if they had a driver's license. I'm just gonna give you one example. We had a guy today, he got stopped with no driver's license. First time he'd ever been stopped. He'd been driving for over 35 years. Legally, and the reason he couldn't have a driver's license was because he was legally blind. He was out in a truck and going down the road, and that's what filled his position. It's just, and the way we're gonna keep our common infrastructure going, as long as we keep people like Representative King and Representative Darby in Austin working.
Thank you.
That's right. Mr. Taylor, would you like to comment? We're talking about being ready for this workforce, and it sounds like that Snyder has moved ahead and done some things. Would you like to tell us how y'all come to those conclusions?
Well, Snyder has typically been a well service town. Patterson Drilling is one of the largest drilling companies in the world, but they've recently moved their administrative office to Houston. But anyway, we're very fortunate to have a lot of well-serviced companies in the Snyder area. We're on the east end of the Permian Basin. We see lots of activity towards the Permian Basin. And so we're very fortunate to have these companies. We don't feel like the influx of additional clientele drilling is going to impact us the way it would Colorado City or some of the other areas of Reagan or Glasscock. They have some tremendous growth that they've had to try to catch up with. We feel like we're ready for it. I know our neighbors, we all talk about regionalism, and certainly our hospitals and transportation, everything that it takes to make a growing community has to be in place, and you have to have neighbors to help.
We have about 10 minutes left. Would anyone from the audience like to ask a question of any of these gentlemen or of me? There's one thing I wanted to ask Representative King is that I noticed that in Hale County, your unemployment there's about 8%, and I know what caused that, but how many of those people can we bring a little bit further south?
You know, I think Hale County, obviously, when Cargill closed down and moved out, it's the one county out of 17. Nearly all my counties, even though without the oil and gas, stay under 5% unemployment, and they shot to 15%. They had a hard year, but when they are doing better now. As you've got them at 8.9. Well, when it happened, they went to 15. So anyway, but a lot of them are moving south, you know, and then the Lakeland Baptist has picked up a lot. South Plains Community College is expanding their facility there. There's some other businesses that are trying to come in. The wind industry is really going to be I think a central job maker for Hale County, and the reason is we have wind farms all over that part of the country. Well, at some point they're going to quit shipping parts from the East Coast into the Texas Panhandle and South Plains, and there's going to have to be a supply hub. Plainview makes a lot of sense because it's halfway between Lubbock and Amarillo, and it's got a major interstate running right through it. So there's a lot of interest in getting more wind development as far as the infrastructure to sustain that industry there. So I hope to see Plainview doing a little better, and they are doing better, but they've lost a considerable amount of their population. Interesting thing about the 2,500 jobs that were lost when Cargill closed, 700 of those jobs were lost in Amarillo.
Yes.
So I mean, it wasn't just Plainview that got hit. It was pretty regional.
Well, you also talked about the transportation woes in your area. What is the rail structure like in that area, in your area?
You know, we enjoy the Santa Fe line that runs from California to the East Coast, and it runs right through Canadian. It doesn't stop there anymore. Amarillo is the turnaround, and so it goes through there, but it is double track through there, and it's the major spur from coast to coast.
And I wanted to ask Judge Floyd a question, but I know that he's done some things to try to maintain his staff, and we are talking about workforce, so would you like to share some of those things with us?
And I'd be glad to. For one, Judge Asim, I catch you bragging about the growth in your tax base. Where Tom County can't brag about that big of a tax base growth. But what he was trying to say is we're limited about the amount of new money every year that we get before you can get caught in the rollback, regardless of what the tax base growth is. Nearly all of ours this year went into salary retention. We tried to give them a host, our department heads for the first time, a host of tools to try to retain that salary. We have a lot of people that are long-term county employees. Again, as I said, we're competing against our tax-paying business community for that staffing. So we tried to give them some additional incentive to deal with that staff's personal needs, what it is, whether it's it's retirement issues, cash in the pocket, that sort of thing. I believe it's working. We also took more of a reality approach to what the current conditions are in 2015, are going to be for our fiscal year 2015, compared to 2010 and before. County governments are pretty slow to react and move, but we must, and we're trying to take a comprehensive current approach to how we did this and address that with staffing also. I'm honestly quite encouraged about the whole nature of the change. You heard earlier Chancellor Sharp talking about the push for the STEM subjects and the engineering, that sort of thing. I'm personally glad to see the trades issue becoming more on the forefront and something to feed our young workforce into, so that they can go to work in transportation or mechanicking or fabrication, welding, that sort of thing, or the associated things, electrical, that sort of thing, and feel proud about it and have confidence they'll be able to feed their family and provide them a good life. For a long time, it seems like we could not demonstrate that to them. In this region now, with this oil boom, it is changing the dynamics and the pay scales. We had to recognize that and adjust for that. And part of it is information that you are able to provide where the market's headed to try to get ahead of it. It's bad to try to look back and regret that you lost people because you didn't see it coming and react to it and take some steps to try to retain them.
Thank you very much.
Okay. One of the tools that the state gave county governments was the creation of the transportation reinvestment zones. And I believe, Judge Isom, Reagan County is taking advantage of that with your airport improvements and your runways, that sort of thing, and perhaps the Super 2 road going to Barnhart. But talk a little bit about how that tool has impacted your county and what you're able to hope to accomplish by that, and what it does.
Well, I think I told you earlier, we were visiting earlier with the Pioneer. Big guys flew into Big Lake in another jet the other day and got stopped and everything, got ready to go. Well, they had to bring all the passengers over to San Angelo because now our runway is not long enough for the plane to take off with any weight in it. And when we get through with our airport project, they'll be able to come in and go with no problem. And then also, when Mr. Kane and Mr. Witt get our merger lanes put in, our traffic is going to be, I mean, it's almost like you're running from the cops now when you get on that highway. Everybody's dodging in and out. I mean, it's terrible. I mean, I can't tell you how bad it is unless you try to drive, drive over there.
But can you elaborate a little bit about, because of you created these transportation zones, any increase in tax base, you get to capture that and use it for transportation projects. I mean, Judge, I know we created here in Tom Green County, and all the rural counties were urged to create it. But just talk a little bit about it.
It's a great tool, and we appreciate that. And TxDOT that's administered, of course, it's somewhat ancillary to the transportation funding that y'all are provided for us to kind of roll out. And we were working very hard to be good stewards and put that on the ground. But each counties, as you full well know, each county is different. you know, in terms of population needs, that sort of thing. This is a perfect tool. This first rollout, we kept ours small because of our current funding structure and our necessity. In the future, we may expand that, and what that it gives us is basically an incremental zone where we can take that increased revenue or tax base in that particular area and dedicate it to roadway maintenance, and it kind of keeps it off that rollback scale to a certain degree. We know that tool's there. We implemented it in a real small portion this first round, but we, in the short future, mainly because just our unique situation. If you look at San Angelo or Tom Green County, you know, the mineral base is not really here. It surrounds us, but we've become a huge logistical center through that. Most of the heavy traffic is moving west out of here on state roads for the most purpose. Has not been that heavy an impact on county roads yet. I believe that will come. And the beauty part is about that is even with Judge Isom is that now cooperation back with the state to solve state road issues within their county. And so that's another window of opportunity that we would keep on. So we appreciate it. It's a great tool. And I think counties are applying it in different ways. But that's, you know, like I say, that's the beauty part of it.
Representative Donald, I'd also like to thank y'all because the money that we got was not a grant. I mean, y'all put it all out there in a big pile and said, okay, you make this many barrels of oil, this is how much money you get. It wasn't like we're all 254 counties were fighting for that money, so you put the money where it was needed, and I think that was a hell of a good deal. I can't thank you guys enough for doing that for me.
Thank our panel, please.
But
Do we have another question? Sorry.
I know you're winding down, so I wanted to ask a really important question. Judge Isom, are you brave enough to keep riding a motorcycle out there on the highway?
I don't do hard questions at 5 minutes to 12.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, Kathy, and thank you, panel members. Isn't it interesting how some of these things intertwine? We talked about problems in the medical and emergency services. These guys didn't even touch on that, but they also have they have to answer to those kind of problems. We talk about, Pierce Miller mentioned something to me earlier. Said, you know, some of those problems that they have in emergencies and that golden hour of getting someplace could have a lot to do with roads. What Drew has helped to spearhead on the Highway 158 as that project is finished, that will make it a little bit easier where ambulances could go down on the paved road instead of down the bar ditch. I mean, all of these things just kind of tie in together. We've got so many issues, I started to say problems, but they're things we're going to work through in West Texas. And these panels, I feel like, have given us a lot of insight. I hope you all have enjoyed them. Please fill out your forms and tell us what you think, because we want this to grow. This needs to be more of an information place. Drew and his group of his colleagues in Austin have a big time challenge, as well as those in Washington, but they need your input and your help, and we thank Drew again for helping to put this together. We got a lot of work to do, but we live in a great country and we live in a great part of the great state. So with that, we're going to break for lunch. Fact is, break period when lunch is over. We're going to go out the door to the left, down the hall. Those of you